What's up? It's Monaveli, and you're watching PUTINWORKTV.
Gang. Alright, right. And so, Monaveli, welcome to PUTINWORKTV. We have enjoyed watching your journey and growth as an artist in the New England music scene, and really want to hear more about your story. Our focus is allowing our guests to tell their stories front and center without judgment or opinion. Let's dive in. So how did it all begin?
I've been singing since I could speak. I've had a love for music since I was in the womb. I remember stories of my mother just telling me she used to put the headphone set on her stomach and play Stevie Wonder. So I grew up listening to a lot of neo soul, a lot of jazz, a lot of old Delta blues, rock and roll, anything you can think of, all of it, country. So again, I grew had the gift at birth to be able to sing. So I just I love singing. It's still just a way for me to relieve stress or tension now, just singing randomly. I got into poetry very young too. Love Jones is one of my favorite movies ever. That just catapulted my love for it. So I got into writing poetry, and that turned into me discovering Erykah Badu. I saw her rap for the first time in I think Love of My Life, or I always forget the name of the song, but it was a song where she was rapping, and I remember just sitting on my knees in front of the TV, jaw dropped, and I was like, bro, this is it. This is everything I'm doing. Everything she's doing is what I'm gonna do. And since 9, I've been writing raps. My first time in the studio was at Sound Lab. Shout out to Sound Lab. Watching their growth has been crazy. But yeah, when they were at the old spot, first time in the studio was there. I was on the Brockton Youth Cypher. I was the youngest, the only female, and the response I got was insane, and it just made me more hungry. I felt right at home. I felt like I finally found my tribe. So yeah, that's shortly put, that's where it all started.
Where did you grow up, and how old are you right now?
Brockton, Mass, born and raised. Moved around a lot, but always gang 508. But I've lived in Boston, right on Fenway. I've lived in Virginia, I've lived in Saugus, but I always come right back home to Brockton. So I know Brockton like the back of my hand. And I'm 22 years old as of March 23rd. So shout out to the Aries gang.
What was it like growing up in Brockton?
That's a good question. It's funny because I was just talking to my mother last night about how strict I felt she was or wasn't. And I feel like she did a really good job. She found a really good balance, because I had the freedom enough to actually explore and fuck up, make mistakes, and make mistakes, and just experience what real life is. But also she made sure that I was safe. I wasn't out here wilding. I wasn't able to stay out past 10 p.m., 11 p.m. I had to make sure I was doing good in school. She was super supportive, so I didn't really have a reason to act out. So it was cool for me. I didn't get into too much shit. I just learned you mind your business. You you stay out of a lot of business you have no business being in. So yeah, it was. I hated high school, but overall my childhood was lit. Did a lot of traveling, experiencing and shit like that. I went to a lot of operas and plays and Disney and shit growing up. She did great as a single mom. So yeah, my childhood was lit. It was lit.
So outside of music, how much would you say was art a part of your life? How big of a part was art in general part of your life?
I am art, honestly. Not to sound crazy or super deep, but it's me. Since that's, I feel it's my first language, kind of, almost. It just helps me to.
Oh wait, okay. So how much would you say is art / was art part of your life?
Yeah, I feel art, all aspects of it, music, visual arts, dancing, painting, sculpting, acting, all of it is my first language. Cinematography, styling, fashion, all forms of it. My father was like an interior designer. I remember like going over his house when I was young and just seeing these like crazy detailed collages, like something that you would see in like a exhibit just up in his house that he would just do for fun, turning random things into like these beautiful works of art people would pay like hundreds of thousands of dollars for. Like, I feel like it's just in my bloodline. My mother's like a very in-depth thinker. She's not like super creative like in the traditional sense, so like I feel like me and my sister get that a lot from my father. And so like it's just always been a part of my life, whether it's poetry, singing, rapping. I used to dance. I'm looking to get back into that. I love all of it. Like, I paint, I draw, I do all that shit. Like, I consider myself like a Renaissance artist. So like, that's me. Art is me.
What is your perspective slash, how do you feel about the budding Brockton art scene? Because y'all are getting a lot of attention right now.
I'm really proud of it. It's funny because, like, just to piggyback off that question, I feel like that's been something I've been talking about more lately, like, just the impact. And the fact that that question is even being brought up more, like, is proof that we're actually making an impact. I was, like, listing a bunch of people on the way here, actually, like Van Buren and C4, Shape. Did you say Brockton or, like, Mass?
I said Brockton.
Oh, I'm sorry, but like,
Mass too,
no,
right?
but regardless, because like Van Buren and C4, just to stop there, like J Rose, like these are people coming out of Brockton, and it's just like super exciting to see because literally just like I was talking about on the car right here. Oh no, we were just talking about it. Like I feel like I'm surrounded by stars, like undeniably. Like it's not like, oh, who's gonna make it and there's mad potential out here. It's like all of us are stars and we're about to blow up and we're about to put on for the city. So it's really exciting to see that and be a part of it. Yeah.
And I would love to extend that to Massachusetts and New England. How do you feel about the same? Same
thing. Like the fact that Brockton is being like mentioned in the conversation more is really, really exciting. But that's just the fact that Massachusetts overall is being put on the map, because Massachusetts overall being put on the map puts an eye on all of the individual cities. So it gives Worcester and Springfield and the music coming out of Brockton, like the more of the consumer based areas where there is fire talent and consistency, it gives us more of a spotlight. It highlights us more just because the entirety of Mass is being looked at. So that's really exciting. It's just providing more of an opportunity. So I feel like people need to really take advantage. The artists need to take advantage of this time because like right now is when everything's happening right now.
I would love to talk about your process and what it's like when you create music. You know what I'm saying? And like you've obviously created music for a long time. Yeah. So how has your process changed throughout your career of making music?
You guys got great questions. Shit. So like I'm pretty sure you guys know Latrell James. He was / is currently still being managed by a woman named Jessica. And when I first when I first recorded and released my first song, it was back at the Sound Lab where it was originally, like before it was at where it is now in Brockton. And I was being mentored by Latrell James, and I recorded my first song, and it was like a straight, like 64 something bars of just like straight rapping, and I like played it for him, and it was like just the first shit I've ever wrote down and then like went and recorded, and I played it for them, and they were like, yeah, this is hard, but like we know you can rap. So like who's listening to like an hour of you just like rapping? Like niggas ain't doing that for the best rapper on earth right now. Like you need to figure out how to construct a song. So my process changed from just showcasing like my bars and like my skill to showcasing my songwriting ability. So I got into just like playing more with like harmonizing and like shit that I know from vocal training and just being a singer and shit that I like, playing around more with like R&B and like just seeing what I can do with the sound. Then that changed into, I need to find something that's like easy enough to be received by the masses without, what is the word, without like completely getting rid of my authenticity. Because like I'm so much bigger than hip hop. Obviously hip hop is the core, but I'm transcending genres is the goal. Like I'm changing the shape of like the industry. That's the goal. That's what we're working for. So like putting that, get like eradicating that limit and that boundary, like just helped me to like really get into all types of different like just sounds, and experimenting fearlessly with like everything I grew up on, like rock and roll, what is it called, Outkast and Parliament and Nina Simone, like just implementing more of my roots but still figuring out how to make it like easy to like for the, you know what I'm saying, for consumers. So that's been a journey. Obviously, but I feel like I'm at a point now where like I'm really solidifying my sound. Like we're coming towards the end of the development process, and it's more of like now we're polishing it, and I'm really excited about that.
So I would love to ask you about like, so you've been making music for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
How, not like how, but like what is your favorite track that you've released so far? Like if there's a Monaveli song that everyone has to listen to, what is that song?
For marketing purposes, I have to say something off the EP, but honestly, shit, I'm still growing so much. I would have to say Pink. Like I would have to say something off the EP because I feel like the EP is such like a solid medium basically for like where I'm coming from and where I'm going. So like Pink, just because of the collaboration with Shane Dillon, but you still get a lot of like Charlie Machine. I hope you cut all this coughing out. I'm gonna look like I got baby lungs. Like, bro, that was a wild ass hit. Like I'm still recovering 30 minutes later. But I had Charlie Machine on it, and I feel like you like that whole piece just like does a very good job at encompassing me as like an artist. Like I said, where I'm coming from and where I'm going, it's jazzy. There's still very like hardcore bars on there. You got Charlie Machine coming on like DJ Holiday in the mixtape era, but then you still have like the piano from Shane Dillon, like that soulfulness. Like I feel like it's like that's the track to be like, bro, this is who Monaveli is right now. This is where she's at right now.
And so, yeah, how would you say your influences are showing in your new project? And that's the whole question.
Yeah, I feel like specifically in songs like 444, there's like the background vocals that like that comes a lot from like just being in love with scatting growing up. Like people like I've mentioned before, Nina Simone. I can't think of any more people like the name specifically off the top of my head, but like I just grew up surrounded by that, and my mother's like obsessed with it. Like she thinks it's the coolest thing ever. She loves music. She can't sing, so like she lives like vicariously through me. So like I love to like I look at music same way I look at paintings, and I had like an art instructor back in school tell me like you don't want to leave any white pieces. If it's white, it should be because you painted it white intentionally. So I look at music like constructing a song the same way. I don't like to leave dead air or room for people to be like, oh well, like I can imagine this being in the background. I want to just fill it in. I want to do it and make it as fucking groovy as possible. And so shit like that, like I said, it just comes from like that influence, just being in love with how it sounds and how it fills up space and the emotion that you feel from it without even having to say anything. There's the track Time. I have French Canadian in me, and I've been practicing French, and I'm Cape Verdean as well. That doesn't really apply to the song, but like just getting more in touch with like my roots and where I'm from. I felt like it'd be really pretty to like sing part of the song in French. and like it came out hard. It like came very naturally to me, and like it's really fun being able to play with different languages because again, like my goal is to transcend genres. So being able to play with that and finding a way to actually like implement that was really really cool. And yeah, I feel like those are like the two biggest. Obviously, like I said, Pink, just because it's so jazzy and neo soul inspired. But yeah.
Ooh, that's hard. How would you say your personal life and your creative life interfere?
I work to keep them as one as possible. Obviously, I feel like I'm dropping gems. Like I feel like I might maybe shouldn't say this because like I may be like telling a secret like to the consumers, but to other artists this may be helpful. Your job is to, aside from entertaining, your job is to create a fantasy, like that, like a part of your brand. So, as much as my personal and my music is one, like my personal is still very private. So as much as I show up as myself is just as much as you don't know about myself. So like finding that balance can be tricky, but like if you were built for this shit, like it's easy to navigate. So I don't have too much of a problem with it. But yeah, like I am this. So it's like not too much of a problem with me until it like has to do with shit like PR where it comes to like personal relationships and shit like that. But like yeah, it doesn't really, it never clashes. Like I'm never like, there's no mask. This is me. This is me all the time.
So you sound multi hyphenated. That's the word.
Mm-hmm.
You do a lot of things. Where would you say your motivation and inspiration comes from? Saying to do all these things and like to create what you create.
Music wise, or like just business, or yeah. So yeah, I have another business. So I guess like if we're talking as a whole, just I always just seen myself being a boss ass woman. I was raised around women who have their own shit, don't have to ask for anything. Like of course, like I'm spoiled, so like if you wanna spoil me, cool. But like it's never like you'll never have to. Like I never need anything from anybody. Like you get what I'm saying? Like just being around women, you're like all the women around you like that. And still having healthy like male role models around who are just around to like support those women and provide on top of that, it just made me, like I said, like I was like, yeah, I want to do that. I want my own. I want to be able to be the one, like, or have a hand at least, and fuck that, not have a hand. I want to be the one to leave a legacy for my future. And like whoever I end up with obviously needs to be equal, but like just for myself, I'm very ambitious. I can't just sit and do nothing. I'm always thinking about the future. So I just loved the idea and the image of a strong, like, independent, boss-ass shorty. And so, like, that's what I strive for, on top of wanting all the things it comes with. Like, yeah.
I would love to know what some of your goals are, just in life. You know what I'm saying? But also as an artist.
Yeah.
And like, what's your process of making sure you get some shit done? Because you seem hella ambitious, hella driven.
Yeah. We actually just expanded like the management team, so that's really exciting. Everybody around me is super driven, super dedicated to my brand and their own development, so it makes it easier to wake up and just keep going. I plan on being a mogul. I plan on, like I said, leaving my footprint in the industry, shaking up the industry in some way where it opens up opportunity and makes it easier for the local artists to make a name for themselves, and be like, make it more realistic and less of a stigma to be an artist coming out of wherever you're coming from. Like, it's doable. You get what I'm saying? Like, just to, like I said, make it more realistic and less of a dream for some people. Prove that it's possible. I want financial freedom. I want to be able to just tour and create, because I feel like that's what I'm put on this earth to do, is just create music, art, whatever, and like just be able to do that freely without having to worry about anything, and all my people are taken care of. I want to travel the world. I want to tour. I want to touch everybody. I want to impact everybody. I want to impact everybody. But yeah, that's the broadest spectrum. I'm not gonna get into like the type of cars I want and shit, but that's the overall of it.
What would you say are some of the challenges that you face, like being a woman in the industry, and like how have you like pushed past them?
I think just having to check intentions of people, whether it's women or men, because just as women can be shiesty, women can be two-faced, but luckily I'm not surrounded by any of that. Like, all the women that I have in my corner are super supportive, super ambitious themselves, super successful themselves, so it's all love. But it's still something you have to watch out for just as much as the men who will 1 second be like, hey, I'm trying to work, beautiful. Or you get what I'm saying? Little shit like that, you just have to pay more attention to. I feel like I don't have to deal with as much shit as a lot of women in this industry do, just because maybe I just have that face, but I just haven't. Obviously you deal with the creeps and you deal with hating ass people, but honestly, I have so much more love coming in that I can't, there's no specific memories of that shit. And as far as the creeps, everybody got them, so I just ignore shit. But yeah, I don't have to deal with it too much where I have a full-blown answer for that, luckily. So I don't think people fuck with me too much. I'm unfuckwittable, I'll say.
So what advice would you have to people who want to start making music and want to reach the levels of success that you have?
Just start doing it. Wherever you're at, it's funny because I don't know if it's I think I've been in the scene for about 6 years now, 7 years now, since 2015. What is it? Yeah, 6. Yeah. And I just reached a point where people, you guys know about the testing lab that happens at Sound Lab. Shout out to the testing lab and Museum TV. But I don't know if it's because I'm just showing my face around more, or if it's because people know I've been associated with the Sound Lab as long as Speak Your Truth has been a thing since LaTron and Jessica were hosting, or the judges, or whatever the fuck, just my time in it. But people have been asking me a lot lately, hey, I had somebody ask me how do you basically motivate yourself when you feel when you're not confident in your shit yet. And honestly, you just gotta do it. I told him, fake it till you make it. And when I say that, I don't mean fake, don't lie about shit. Obviously that won't get you nowhere. If you don't have the money, if you don't have the bitches, don't lie about it. I'm saying fake the confidence until you naturally have it. When you drop that first song, you better be backing that song with it's the hardest shit you've ever heard. Because if you're not confident in your own shit or in yourself, nobody else is going to believe in you. That is the very first step, I believe. After that, once you get people listening and you start building up your confidence to just put yourself out there, that's when you can start developing your sound and your image and figure out how you want to sell your brand and all the business aspect of it. But yeah, if it's just getting your foot in the door, just be fearless. Just every open mic you can, get as much practice in. It's not corny to rehearse. It's not corny to rehearse. Put this is your job. If you want this shit, this should be your everything. So yeah, just go for it. Do it. Record that. Write that shit. Find that beat, whether it's a YouTube beat or whatever the fuck. Record that. Whatever comes to you. Write it, record it, and then put that shit out and back it with everything you have in you. Fake that confidence. I don't give a fuck if it's the shittiest song ever. You better act like it's hard.
So, you just talked about rehearsal, faking confidence. I'm really wondering, what was your first time performing and were you nervous?
I was hella nervous. My first time performing was at the Sound Lab. Again, shout out to the Sound Lab, because that's like really like the birthing place for like where a lot of the Brockton niggas started. It was a space for us to like hone our crafts and practice. So I'm glad it was there before like obviously a real event. But I was nervous. I remember I think I performed in front of like Latrell and Jessica, and Latrell James is probably one of like the best performers, one of the best performers I've ever seen, period. And so seeing him perform and then like being mentored by him was like low key nerve wracking, high key because I was younger, and they kind of made us do like boot camp. First time I rehearsed, I was like super nervous. I didn't move around. I was one spot, didn't look up. A lot of the time, like, you're looking down, trying to just remember your shit, trying to make sure you don't fuck up the words. There's no stage presence. There's no crowd interaction. There's, like, you're just up there trying to get the shit done. They had us doing, like, boot camps and shit. Me, C4, St. Leor from Van Buren would be there sometimes. Another rap battle league owner from Brockton named Wazoo Zamaki would be there, and they would just have us like running through shit. Look up, you need to utilize the stage, move around, knees up. How is this song matching the energy that you're giving? It's not. Redo it. Breath control. Giving us like actual assignments and shit. And honestly, like, not to sound cocky, but I feel like that's why me and C4 and like St. Leor and all of Van Buren are like the hardest performers coming out of Massachusetts right now, like out of this generation of artists. So yeah, it went from hell nah to hell yeah. Like it like I feel like I keep getting booked, and I keep growing, and I love my performances. I feel like it just gives something different, the same way C4's does. So yeah, that was the evolution of that.
So the next question I had is like, it's about mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
What's your advice about finding a mentor? And like, obviously you just talked about all the drills and practices you did with your mentors, but like, where would you, like, how do you feel like they impacted your life?
So I was mentored by Latrell James, and then they introduced me to her manager at the time, Keith, who is now the owner of Lifted. Shout out to Lifted, Boston. Dope ass, like 420 brand. But anyway, he was her manager at the time. He like showed her videos, and as bad as I thought I was at the time, she saw mad potential. So Dutch Rebel started mentoring me, and honestly, just like I told you, like, Jessica was the first person to tell me, like, yeah, you can rap. Like, we know you can rap. Let me see you construct a song. And like actually gave me criticism for the first song I ever tried to write. Well, not tried to, that I ever like wrote after like that first like 60 something bar shit. I constructed a song, came back to her, and she critiqued it, and like it was like good, like it was shit that I still utilize to this day. Like I still think about that shit. Latrell James and her just being relentless without being paid, just like hanging out with us for hours, and like on some like I said, rehearsals, boot camp, like performance boot camps and shit like that. Dutch Rebel really taught me how to dominate like the business side of things. So it was more of like, okay, so like, you know, you got the skill, you're developing your sound, but your branding is what's gonna make you the money. So like she taught me all of that. Like I actually had a job like as the front desk receptionist working at a salon that she manages. Just like something else she taught me, always having a bunch of businesses, and well, not a bunch, but like having businesses and multiple streams of income, I should say. How to monetize off of, like, break down your talents and monetize off of different things, and get your shit LLC'd, and endorsement deals, sponsorships, have other people pay you so that when you make money on tour, you don't even have to touch it. Shit like that. Budgeting for videos and shit, all that type of shit. She really got me connected with a lot of people in the scene, like as far as clothing and shit like that. So yeah, I'm super grateful that all that shit just lined up, because I feel like it made me a monster. Like just having like all of that super young, that shit's like, yeah, it's only up from here, and I'm only 22. It's like, yeah, it's going crazy. And like I said, I still think about that and utilize it every day. So yeah.
So what would you say, like, in your journey, has been your biggest challenge?
Not even anything really. It's more of like a self thing. I feel like imposter syndrome. Like the way the answer just flew out, I guess that's right. Like I was trying to think of something else, but like I think that's it. But I feel like a lot of creatives deal with that, especially like the greats. Like even Kanye's mentioned dealing with that shit. So like not to compare myself to Kanye. I don't need people coming at me for that. But like I'm just saying like, and I'm not saying I'm like great status yet, but obviously like that's what niggas are aiming for. So I feel like a lot of creatives can relate. It's this shit. It's a very lonely. Being an artist is very lonely, very taxing. A lot of the times you feel like you're the only person motivating yourself, especially owning a business on the side, especially being a black woman. Like that shit's a lot. So yeah, it's really like my love for the music and the industry is what keeps me going. So like it's nothing in that would ever make me like want to quit. Nothing has ever made me want to quit, but like the obstacles just be like, you know, myself feeling like, you know, am I worthy? Am I good enough for the industry? But we call those intrusive thoughts, so I ignore those.
What is the other business that you run?
So we're currently rebranding. I originally started it creative direction because I'm a creative director too. Done all my videos. I've done some work for Humbeats. Some work for an artist named Shanae Virgo from Boston, I believe. But yeah, I'm just like in love, like I said, with the entire creative process of it. I love to be very hands-on, and my initial reason for starting the business, my best friend of mine passed away, and his middle name was Kawisi, so I started K West Studios, and he was just huge on like super ambitious, get the life that you deserve by any means necessary. He wanted to be an artist. He had crazy big visions of like, I'm charging $10,000 a show and my video's gonna be crazy and top tier everything. So with that being my natural passion and something he was so big on, like everybody needs a passion project, and I've always wanted to do that shit. So I feel like it just came together, and the original purpose was to be creative direction for like music artists and like fashion and beauty and brands and companies and stuff like that. And then it kind of segued because I started learning, like I've been doing my own marketing and I enjoyed it, so I started monetizing that. So it turned into more of a media production and marketing company. Started doing web design for people who started hating it. Like I started hating it, like it just felt so, it started just to feel so left field, and I felt like I was just monetizing everything I was good at, everything I had a skill on, and it felt too separate from the music, and everything needs to be fluid. So like I said, I'm currently in a process of rebranding, like right now, of going back to creative direction, catering to beauty and fashion brands. I'm gonna put the music on, like music businesses on hold, just because like I feel like as an artist, it's all love, but we all food. You get what I'm saying? Like everybody's competition, as friendly as it is, like I feel like that might be kind of hard to to pitch just straight like that, being an artist myself. So just focusing on like fashion and beauty brands that I can also partner with, like get sponsored by and like endorsement deals and collabs with Monaveli LLC. So just bringing it all under one umbrella and making my money off of that and shows and shit, obviously.
How did you get your name?
Monaveli is a mix of Mona Lisa and Machiavelli. My mother helped me come up with that. We always argue about what age and where we were when it happened, but she most definitely helped me come up with it. Mona Lisa, just because, like I said before, I'm just a huge Renaissance artist. I love any type of art, any and all types of art. And also grew up with like an infinite love for Tupac, and also me being big on where he came from, like where he got his name from, Machiavelli, learning about the prophet and like who that man was, like all of it, just I loved all of it. So I decided to take his Machiavelli title, merge it with Mona Lisa, and we got Monaveli. Yeah.
So my last question is like, if you were to use one word to describe Monaveli, what word would you use and why?
Original. It's crazy. I actually have a song with Kofi Lost called Original, but yeah, I feel like I just screamed that. There's no, you've never seen it before. You've never, like, regardless of the energy you're getting from me, what you're hearing me say, the look, and that's not to sound cocky because everybody should be this unique in their own way, but I feel like I said it, like I just scream that for people, and I always want to represent to people to be your own person, be original, be fearless, be your best self, and 100% you always, and you will always attract what you deserve in life. And yeah, I think my music screams that boss bitch energy. Yeah.
That's hard. I feel like, do you have any last words for Put in Work TV?
Shout out to Rob, shout out to Put in Work TV, shout out to all you guys. Thank you so much. Super happy to be here. I'm really glad we could put this together. Stream rich on all streaming platforms. EP just dropped. Yeah, thank you. Follow me on everything, Real Monaveli. Thank you guys. This is Monaveli. Shout out to Put in Work TV for having me.